Hi, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, Teaching the Arts. I'm Peter Hawley. Thanks for coming back. Today, yet another sort of veer off. Instead of teachers in the arts, we have students in the arts. Two students from Northwestern University, Erica Bank, who is currently running the Night School Project, which I can actually say is my old job, like Bill Maher would say, and Sid Gupta, who is the head of production for the Night School Project at Northwestern. We get into it in a minute, talking about school, about night school, about culture on campus, about the Me Too movement, and a whole sorts of things. But before then, sort of the lesson of the day is... because I have these two guys here, I've found myself thinking a lot about going to college myself. And I went away to college when I was 17 years old, and I knew nothing. My parents took me to O'Hare Airport. They packed me up. I flew to Boston. I went to Boston University for a year before I went to Northwestern. And my uncle and aunt and grandmother met me at Logan, and they took me to Boston University, where I loaded my stuff into my room, and I was off to college. I was 3 months short of my 18th birthday, and I didn't know how to do my own laundry. I didn't know how to pay my own bills, and I had to learn on the fly. The best thing about going to college, and I've said this over and over, and it came up in the conversation with Erica and Sid, is learning from your peers. I mean, I remember these eye-opening moments of Rob Holt, a guy who lived 3 doors away, turning me on to the movie Blow Up. I remember going to Harvard Square to see a double feature of The Graduate and Citizen Kane. Those are things that I would not have done safe at home if I hadn't gone out at night. I wouldn't have done it if I had a cell phone or internet or anything like that. Those were the experiences that I remember from college, and the great thing about college. I remember going to be turned on to music. The first time someone gave me Elvis Costello's first album, it was like, oh my God. My friend Scott Peterson gave me Quadrophenia from The Who. I'm like, oh, wow. All right. I mean, I didn't know any of this. And the best part for me about going to college was being around 20,000 other 20-year-olds. And I stand by that. And the great part of being a college teacher today is talking to all those 20-year-olds. So it was a real thrill to talk to Sid and Erica today. So my guests are Erica Bank and Sid Gupta. They're both sophomores at Northwestern University. Erica's in the School of Music there, where she's studying voice and has studied opera, but is beginning to make a transition into music management in her own ad hoc major. And Sid is a film student, RTVF as they call it at Northwestern. Sid's a film student. He's head of production for the Night School Project. And Erica, my words, not hers, is the head of Night School. And we have a great talk coming up right now. Hey guys, thank you for coming. So my guests are Erica Bank and Sid Gupta from Northwestern, my old alma mater. Welcome and thank you for coming. Did you guys have class today?
Yes.
I did not. Tuesday's my off day, so I don't have class.
Erica, what'd you have?
I had the history of Western cultures and music from the 1600s to the 1800s. Yeah, it's a very niche class.
I guess so. Well, thank you for coming to downtown Chicago, near downtown Chicago. So, Erica, we'll start with you. Tell us a little bit how you got here. You're at Northwestern. You're a sophomore, right? Mm-hmm. What's your background?
So I grew up in Westchester, New York, and I originally applied to Northwestern to pursue classical music, specifically vocal performance and opera. So I started off with a very strong background in music. I started off performing a lot of musical theater. And then
in like high school or
in high school.
Yeah.
I mean, it started even younger than that. But in 6th grade, I actually made the transition into classical music. I performed in NISMA, which is a New York State. I believe they consider themselves to just be almost like an amateur music competition. So in 6th grade, I sang my first piece of classical music, and something really just clicked. And then ever since then, I started studying at a classical conservatory, and I applied to Northwestern into the Beanan School of Music for vocal performance, and have been really just focusing on finding my place within music, using my passions in music to kind of explore other academics.
So this is a naive question, and it may sound snarky, but it doesn't mean to be snarky. Why do you have to go to a school like Northwestern to study music, to study voice in particular, as opposed to some sort of conservatory, some sort of just private classes, training? Why Northwestern?
Right. So throughout the application process, I definitely considered music conservatories. And as I started to dissect why I was really involved with music, I realized that it wasn't more so that I was specifically interested in pursuing a career in performance, but rather I just had this innate love and appreciation for music in general. So I found that a conservatory wouldn't really be the right path for me just because the academic focus is very limited and very focused on classical Western music. And I believe my academic interests really expand beyond just that scope. And I really wanted to get a very well-rounded education experience.
Did you go to a special high school for performing arts, or just a regular school?
Yeah, so I just went to a regular public school in Westchester, but after school I actually attended a music conservatory where I took music theory, private lessons, oral and ear training.
Your parents are supportive, evidently.
Yes, definitely.
You know, what did they think when you said, "Hey, Mom and Dad, Northwestern for me"? I mean, they're happy, I'm hoping.
Oh, yeah. No, they're absolutely ecstatic. I mean, they support me in all of my endeavors. I mean, I think it was particularly evident in the middle of my freshman year. I actually made a switch in my educational path because I was originally studying vocal performance and opera, and then kind of realized midway through my freshman year that I didn't want to be an opera singer when I grew up. And given the curriculum that I was studying, it was just very niche and very focused on being an opera singer. So after that, I decided to now take a new path, and I'm doing a self-designed ad hoc major still within the Beanan School of Music. But this way, I'm able to explore some more of my academic interests. So I'm really hoping to end up with a career in the music industry, doing something involving music business. So now I'm doing this self-constructed major where I'm taking a bunch of the core music classes like music theory, music history, but I'm still allowed to take some other more academically rigorous classes, more pertaining to the business field, which is super exciting.
Do you or will you perform as a student, like in shows and things like that?
Mm-hmm. So I did a lot of performances. Last year I was involved in a couple operas. I'm hopefully trying to join a band sometime soon to kind of cross over some of my vocal techniques into more modern practices. Would be super exciting, but I definitely want to keep performing, especially since that's not my main focus at Northwestern anymore.
Yeah. So Sid, where are you from? What's your background here?
Okay, so I grew up in India, and I come from a city called Saharanpur, which is 4 hours north of Delhi, sort of like closer to the Himalayas. And my parents sent me to an all-boys boarding school growing up. When I was 12, I was sent to an all-boys boarding school. And initially, I wasn't very happy with it because it was an all-boys boarding school. But then I credit a lot of my personality to the boarding school, and I feel like that's where I started growing. So I was exploring all these, like, we had a lot of service, we had sports, and that's where I started exploring, like, my background in music and everything. And that's where I also started exploring, like, film as a potential career option. So, like, senior year, I got the chance to intern on a Bollywood film, and it was like a full-length feature film. So that was very, very cool, but it was also a really good experience. And that's when I sort of realized that, oh, okay, maybe this is something that I'm interested in. Before that, I was on an engineering path. So Indian parents, and I was doing engineering. So I had like physics, chemistry, math, and all these like courses. And then one day, I came back home and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do engineering. So we had that talk, the Indian talk. Yeah. And that's when I decided that I wanted to study film and be in film. Not necessarily in like America or back home in Bollywood. I haven't decided that yet. But that was my first thought. So then we started looking at colleges like in America. And my parents obviously wanted me to study engineering. So our compromise was sort of like, okay, you can do like econ and film. So we decided that I'm going to do econ and film, and that's why I do econ and film. We looked at USC Film School, and we looked at NYU Film School, but my parents exactly weren't happy with their econ programs, so I chose Northwestern. It's funny though, like I didn't even like it's how in America people visit schools and like talk to people here and stuff. I definitely had people that I talked to from my school that went to Northwestern, but I never visited. Like the closest I got was the online tour. It was pretty good.
Wow.
I won't lie. But
so the first time you came to Evanston was your first day on campus then?
the first time I came to America was when I was joining college, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my first experience.
That is a journey. Wow. You have brothers or sisters?
I have an elder sister, yes.
Did she go to college?
She went to college in India. So she studied chartered accountancy, which is like sort of like business and accountancy in India. Yeah.
What do your parents think when you said film, and what part of film? What angle into film do you want to take?
So it's interesting because like my dad, he was an engineer and he has his own industry back in the city that I come from, but he was always passionate about film and he wanted to be in film. So when he could, like when he turned like 10 years ago, he got involved with film. So he produced a movie in Bollywood, and that was his first movie. And back in 2012, he actually produced a full-length feature film that was like one of the biggest movies of the year.
Wow.
So that's, I guess like when I say I was interested in film, that comes down from my dad.
Sure.
But there's that, being in India, people are still like not sure about like more career options.
Yeah.
And film's obviously risky because you don't know if you're going to be like get a job, be stable.
Right.
So that was one of their concerns.
Well, it's not like opera where everyone gets a job in opera.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you came here. Your first day in this country was the first day in college. Was the first day you came to this country. What were you thinking? Were you wide-eyed and like, oh my God? I mean, what is this? It's a long way from home, or were you?
So it's interesting because like my boarding school...
was it in India? Your boarding school?
My boarding school was in India, but it was like we always had people coming in from everywhere. We had an exchange program where people would come to like Groton School and Deerfield Academy from like back and forth. And I was exposed to all these like places already. Plus like the one quality that I gained from my boarding school was adaptability. So back in high school, we would go hiking into the Himalayas twice a year.
Wow!
Like we had no gadgets in our school. We had uniforms. We had to wake up at 6 a.m. for like a physical training and stuff. So discipline and adaptability are two things that I gained from my high school. So I guess like I could see the difference in the culture. Like there was definitely a culture shock, but I don't know how affected I was from it. I was ready to face the new like part of my life. I guess I also love meeting people, so it was very exciting for me to meet different kinds of people.
Well, you don't seem shy. That's good. So now to both of you here, what's college like today? So I graduated from Northwestern in 1986. So 15 years probably before you were born, or close to. I mean, 13, 14 years before you guys were born. I'm guessing you were born in the late 90s, right around 2000, something like that. Really different place. We were talking here's how it's different from what we were talking about before we came in here. I used to have a once a month regular departmental wine and cheese where the department would invite students to go have a glass of wine and cheese and crackers with their teachers. And you looked at me like I was crazy. So besides having departmental soda or soft drinks, what's it like now being a college student? Because I only see them in my classrooms, and I can imagine what goes on. But what's going on?
Right. So, I mean, I honestly feel a very strong connection with a lot of my professors, no matter the class size, honestly. I feel very comfortable going to their office hours, communicating with them.
But not drinking with them.
But not drinking with them, no. And in addition, I honestly think that the Northwestern student body is a truly, truly unique group of kids. Everyone is extremely intelligent, extremely passionate, and just a very warm group of people. I feel constantly motivated just by the people that are around me and the type of opportunities that are presented to me and presented to others, and seeing what people are doing with those opportunities, it's an extremely motivating place to be, just because the intellect is so high and the passion is so high, the motivation is so high. I've had a truly amazing experience thus so far.
What about you?
I mean, Erica covered most of those, but I feel like college is also about, for me, the biggest thing has been your time is actually your time, so you can invest it in whatever you want and whatever you want from it. So it's a lot about you and like what you want to take out from it. So there are so many opportunities, but it's what you want to do with that time. So that's very interesting about college.
Well, it sure is interesting about college. So a thing that I always come back to, so I went away to college, I was 17. My birthday's in November, so I turned 18 in that November. And I had never done laundry by myself. I had done, I had to balance my own budget, had to know how much money there was and stuff like that. I wasn't taught any of that stuff. I mean, the first time I did laundry, I didn't put soap in the water, I mean, I wore dirty, wet clothes, But no, seriously, so managing your own time, managing your own budget, especially time, when no one's telling you to go to school. When you were in high school, especially, Sid, the school you described, it was rigid and it was very regimented. I assume your high school was not quite as rigid. I doubt you were walking twice a year in the Himalayas, But you have to make some adult decisions, like when to blow off a class, when not to blow off a class. How do we, anyone who's gone to college, make those decisions? What you're responsible, but at some point you also have to make some mistakes, I'm guessing, or learn on the fly. What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely gear on the side of like more type A. Some might say I'm a control freak. I don't know. But I'm very into scheduling, and I'm very into having everything written down, everything that I have to do. Huge to-do list girl. So just little things like that, just to keep me intact with what's important, what needs to be done, when it needs to be done. Time management has been a huge part of my college experience.
I think technology helps, though. I mean, because you can have your schedules on your phone. You all have either Blackboard or some learning management system, whatever it is that your teachers are communicating with you that way. You may even be taking tests or posting assignments through that system. Yeah, I know that's what we do too. What about, are you in the Greek system at all?
I think I am.
Yeah, we both are, actually.
I'm in Fidel.
And I'm in Tridelt.
Oh, good.
Well, that rhymed.
Yeah.
But I think like Google Calendar is the best app to have ever been invented. Without Google Calendar, it's hard.
Yeah.
Also, like something that I've realized is like in India, the culture is so different that people here, once they turn 18, they're like more independent. They're getting summer jobs to like get their own money and like supporting themselves. That's not a thing back in India. Like people don't get jobs to support themselves. So that was really, really interesting to me when I got here, and I wanted to be a part of it. So it's fun. Like it's exciting. Like knowing that you only have $100 to spend this week, and you have to like somehow manage it with like everything. Like you have to to balance your like going out and like eating out and stuff. So that's cool.
So this is what we used to do. So right there, this is going to be super local geography for those people who know Evanston, Illinois. But right there on Sherman Avenue at Clark Street. Now they're on one side of the street. There used to be an Einstein Bagels, or no, another place, coffee shop over there.
There still is, actually.
And there was that when I was a student. There was Sherm's coffee shop right there on the north west side of the street there. All right, on the opposite side where there is, I think that's where the Einstein is now. That used to be Who's Drugstore, Hoos Drugstore. So talking about how you have $100 to last the week. You used to be able to go to Who's Drugstore and write a check for a tube of toothpaste or something like that and get $20 or $50 of cash on Friday evening. Give them that check. You know they weren't going to deposit it until Monday, and you could borrow their $50 until Tuesday, probably, when maybe it was a payday or something like that. We, played that game over and over and over again. But still, there was a learning lesson. Like there was few ATMs at that point in time. So what are the goals here? I mean, you're going to a very good university. And I'm proud to say that myself. But when you graduate in 2.5 years or so, you're both class of 20?
Yeah.
2020, your class 20.
Yeah.
So what do you think you're going to do come graduation? I mean, there's a lot of time left between now and then, but what do you think you guys are going to do?
Well, like I said earlier, I would love to do something involving music business. I mean, I really, truly want to use the rest of my time at Northwestern to just explore every possible opportunity, interact with as many people as possible, have as many experiences as possible, because as much as learning occurs inside the classroom, a lot of my experiences and learning has been outside of the classroom
Absolutely.
as well. And I have truly learned so much from the people around me, and I will continue to do so. So I just hope to apply everything that I learned, both through Northwestern's curriculum and through the student body and the professors and everyone around me, to just hopefully translate that into a career in the future, definitely.
Are you thinking grad school at all, or no, not right now, or just getting a job or something?
I mean, eventually I kind of want to go to business graduate school. I would definitely like to head into the workforce for a little bit. Get some experience before I think about that. But that's definitely something I'm interested in.
Yeah. Sid, what about you?
So since I have like 2 majors, it's worked out well because I have like options open.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been learning about consulting and finance and stuff and have that in the back. But I definitely want to start with film. So I'm trying to be in LA over the summer, just like every other film student. And for me, it'll be about experiencing the city, because I was in Bollywood like last summer working on sets, and I know how the city is and how I can fit in to the industry and how I can see myself growing, because I feel like that's very important if you want to stay in the city. So I want to experience the West and like LA over the summer. And then, I mean, it's not an either or situation for me. I don't have to choose between Bollywood or like Hollywood. I guess like I can.
Do you want to stay in the States after graduation?
I mean, if I am allowed to. I don't even know if I'm going to be allowed to.
Yeah, I mean, immigration status. That's yes. That's well. I mean, also you don't know who the president will be in 2020.
Yeah, fair.
Maybe in November of 2020 we will have a different president. You know, but yeah, no, that's a very real situation too. So let's talk about one of the things that we all have in common, and Erica, I'll let you start it, and it's the Night School Project. So tell us all about the Night School Project, and I have not said much about it at all on this air.
Right. Okay. So basically, when I came to Northwestern as a freshman, I was looking on the club register, trying to find a club that would kind of combine my academic interests and my music interests. And I came across Night School Productions. It was listed as a music video production group along with music management, which struck me as truly fascinating. And I tried my best to get involved. I reached out to all of the listed people, and I found out that the club was no longer active at the time. So just because I had been talking to so many people and my name was kind of thrown out there, over the summer I was approached by a professor who was like, I really want to bring Night School back. It's existed since the 80s. There's such a strong legacy. They brought so many great things to the table. Would you be interested, or do you know someone that's interested in kind of leading the reboot of Night School? And I jumped at the opportunity. I was absolutely ecstatic to be allowed the opportunity to not only get involved with this group, but to help lead this group and to help revive its very strong legacy. So like I said, the group was primarily, I mean, you can speak better about this than me, a music video production group. And my specific interests don't really resonate with production. I mean, now they've kind of developed into that. But so I was trying to see how I can kind of adjust the club to meet more of my interest in music business and the music industry, which is how I kind of thought of the idea of One Takes. So One Takes is essentially a live concert series that focuses on producing high-quality audio and visual of musicians in a casual setting. So the idea kind of derived from NPR's Tiny Desk concerts, where they produce these really, really high-quality audio and video of musicians in the actual NPR office, which is just super neat. So my concept was to kind of translate that idea into the Northwestern scope. And honestly, the talent on both the musician and the production side that is available at Northwestern.
So these are all students, all student musicians doing original compositions, original music?
for now.
Yeah, for now. We're starting off with just Northwestern students, but hopefully we want to transform Night School One Takes beyond the Northwestern scope and making it not only a renowned Northwestern production group, but also one of a greater entity.
Sure. But it's original music. It's not like they're doing covers or anything like that. It's Northwestern students playing music, their own original music, and Northwestern students recording, filming, and editing it. So it's all student-based, original content.
Yeah. Well, we actually had an a cappella group featured in one of our episodes this past winter, and they did some covers just because that's usually what a cappella groups end up doing.
Yeah. I saw the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have links to all this on the website, and we'll let people know how to see it. I saw the first one you did this year, and I think it's great. So Sid, what is your role in this? You're part of Night School as well.
Yeah. So again, like before coming to college, I was looking at clubs to join. So the two clubs that I really liked were Night School and A&O.
A&O, yeah.
Yeah. So
what's that A&O stand for? I don't remember.
It's a secret. They never tell people.
Is that true?
Yeah.
It's like Armadillo Day. It's like the Armadillo is
Yeah, but so I came to Northwestern, but Night School wasn't there anymore. So I got involved with A&O. I started producing for A&O. I produced a show with them. I was like doing student films and stuff till our VP, our ex-VP, he approached me and he asked me like if I wanted to be head of production for Night School. And I jumped at the opportunity as well.
And what does that mean? What does head of production mean? Because when we were doing it, now I'll go backwards in time in a little bit. When we were doing it, we were just producer, director, editor. There was no head of production. What was head of production?
So the thing is that now that we're functioning as a group, we have other sort of wings within Night School. So we have like an A&R committee that looks for more artists, and then we have a business operations committee which handles all the things with SOFO and like the fundraising and everything.
SOFO,
Student Organizations of Financial Office.
Oh, wow.
They're the administration, and then we have a marketing committee. Who works on the marketing, and productions is basically that comes under me, like director. So we work on finding the crews for the videos, and then we shoot it. So have you produced or directed any of the ones that have been done so far? No, because that's conflict of interest, I guess.
Yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, but I have produced 2 student films. Like one last year and one this year, and I'm producing one next quarter.
So you produced a student film as a freshman and an early sophomore already?
It's a funny story that a freshman fall, first week, we still had Wildcat Welcome going on. So I decided to petition for a movie, and I went to petition as an associate producer, thinking that they would at least give me like a production assistant job, like be on set. But when the crew list came out on the email, everyone started texting me, "Oh, congratulations!" And I was like, "Why? What?" And I was the producer of the film, and I was like, "Okay, this is an error." Like,
wow.
Yeah, but that happened, I guess.
And how was the film? You shot it and it's finished and all that?
Yeah. We tried to submit it to a few festivals. It was pretty good.
Wow.
And it was like a senior directing film, and that was my first experience producing stuff.
And you were a freshman, like a true freshman, literally
in my second
right
week,
out.
yes.
Wow, that is amazing. I think in some ways that's a great thing about college. You get opportunities in college that you have no idea is going to come your way. You just have to be open to them and go outside, and step out and meet people and all that kind of stuff. That's really terrific. So we were talking before. What's the goal with Night School? I know you said you'd like to expand it to other campuses and things like that, but there's probably an intermediate step there. I mean, you've only done 2 or 3 now?
We've completed filming 3 episodes of Night School One Takes, which is super exciting, and we're going to produce around 4 or maybe even 5 this spring quarter, since we've kind of honed down on the whole production process. So going forward, we want to continue to keep.
And where will people see them? I'm sorry to interrupt, but where will people see them? And to me, it's got to build a critical mass of getting, hey, this is a thing. This Night School One Takes is a thing. Then it can be transferred. Hey, I'm at Wisconsin and I want to do it at Wisconsin and do a thing there. But right now, to me, though you've got 2 or 3 in the can, it's not a thing yet. It's not tangible enough. So what's the plan to get it to that next part before you can take it to some other campus?
Right. So right now we're really focusing on getting the Northwestern student body to not only know what Night School is, but to engage with Night School. So we post all of our videos on all of our social media accounts, which is a big way of targeting our generation. And then we also have a website. But just to like, give you some perspective, we released our first episode around a week and a half ago, and we have around 1,500 views.
Great.
Which is truly fantastic.
I'm two of them.
It's really fantastic considering this was our first episode. I mean, Night School had such a strong legacy, but with that being said, they did have a brief hiatus, and now coming back, especially with a new concept, it was just amazing to see how many people really resonated with what we were doing and what we were producing. And
to build on that, I guess like a primary focus is on the quality, because if we have the quality, only then will people like value it more. And so we're trying to rent out the best equipment. We're really working on a set and how to make it look good, but at the same time brand it with Night School and Northwestern. And in terms of sound, we have like professional sound equipment that we're renting out from Chicago that we get every time. So our sound is good.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a chance to do a free plug here. So you're still doing the fundraising campaign.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us all where we can do it? And this is going to go live on iTunes or drop on iTunes on I think March 5th. So you're going to have 10 days or so still to raise some dough. So.
Yeah, so basically we've been teaming up with Northwestern's Catalyzer, which is Northwestern's form of a crowdfunding campaign. We launched our campaign around a week ago. We have an end goal of raising $5,000. We're going to use that money to buy all of our own audio equipment because, like Sid mentioned, we've been renting all of our audio equipment from Chicago, which has gotten very costly. So we're trying to avoid that by buying our own equipment. So yeah, all our crowdfunding, it's on Catalyzer.
So where's Catalyzer? I mean...
I'm sure if you just search Catalyzer Northwestern.
Catalyzer with a C, like Wildcats.
Like
right? Yeah, Catalyzer.
Is the idea,
right.
yeah.
So we were talking before we came in here about sponsorship. So I have time to go into the Wayback Machine a little bit. So in 1984, when I was a sophomore at Northwestern, John Shapiro and Eric Berndt were two guys who started the Night School Project. I was part of that first group. I showed Erica the record, the first record we put out, Ambition, and there's our names on it and all that kind of stuff. And the school speech gave us some money, and the I want to say A&O or student government gave us a little bit of money, and I think we had about $5,000. We made a 12-inch single and one music video called Ambition. And, we had to rent everything. We had to come downtown and rent gear, film gear, everything, soup to nuts, everything. The second year, I got more of a leadership position, and I produced the music videos. We did 2 music videos and a 6-song EP. And then my senior year, I produced, again, the music video, and that won a Regional Student Emmy Award. And we did a 6-song EP. And a lot of people who worked on that video went on to do a bunch of things. Jim McClendon directed it. David Zucker, who's an executive with Ridley Scott right now, was on that shoot. Ricky Posner was on that shoot. He directed one my junior year. Stefan Fopiano, my dear friend, was the cinematographer. John produced the music. Eric had moved on at that time, but John and Eric were the start. So in my junior year, so the second year of night school, Miller Beer gave us $20,000 or something like that. I think it was 20. It may have been 25, but I think it was 20. And the senior year, they gave us $20,000 as well. And that was a great sponsorship. And as I've told Erica, Miller Beer gave us also a lot of beer. So people knew I had lots and lots of beer. So I had literally all that winter, I had cases of Miller Lite, and Lowenbrow on my back porch of my apartment. And people would come over and ring the doorbell and not even say hi, just walk to the back porch, grab a 6-pack and walk out of there. But you guys, before we came in here, said, no, that would not happen today. That wouldn't fly. So things are that different. Northwestern wouldn't allow a student group to have a liquor sponsor.
I mean, I don't believe so. I mean, our process so far, we've been trying to go through student organization funding sources through the university. So in the beginning, I sent out around 7 budget proposals to different sources of student organization funding. Only got approved for 3 out of the 7 and only got around $2,500. So for the first 2 quarters, we were operating on a very low budget. And especially comparatively to what you guys were doing back then. But Yeah,
and we put it all on the record or on the screen. I mean, we really didn't, we didn't blow that money. It went into production because we had to rent studios to record the record. We had to rent everything we shot on. So yeah, it was money. It was what it cost to do back then.
Even last quarter when we were trying to release like a promo video, it's just been like a struggle working with the RTVF department. And honestly, I assume that they would be happy to jump on, and like we have so much student ambition. The first time we sent out the application, we had a lot of people sign up. So they would be more encouraged to help us out. But that wasn't the case. So I don't see how that's going to go moving forward.
Well, Eric and I have talked about this. I mean, I do think you should find some sponsorship, especially if you can say it's going to go to these other campuses. I'm hoping that you have friends on other college campuses that could pick this up, you who are just like-minded friends, and you could go to, Michigan or someplace and say, hey, you guys want to do this here, and then then a sponsor will probably jump on board and go, wow, I mean, I can get to 100,000 young people. There are people out there that would market to that group of people, and that would help. That would make it one step bigger, I think.
Right, definitely. I mean, I don't know if I mentioned it, but we do hope to translate the one takes concept, build it, make it so comprehensive that we can bring it to other universities. So I 100% agree that it would be a fantastic opportunity for a sponsor to come in and be able to directly deliver their product to such a targeted audience of college students.
It's huge.
And having a sponsor would also let us go back to the old night school model and make some music videos.
Sure. I think our goal was to be a production company. We just happen to be a music video production company, but make this combination of music and film coming together as I think what we really wanted to do. And we wanted to involve as many people as we possibly could. And it was a great, I mean, it was one of the key events of my life was being on that first music video, Ambition, because I had gone down this path of wanting to be a broadcast journalist because I didn't understand film. I mean, like there was no path to film from where I saw, but I could see TV news and stuff like that, sports, the Olympics, and we went on this film set and we were shooting film and cutting it, and it was fiction, and it was like, oh my God, this is completely different. And I immediately, at the end of that weekend, pivoted towards cinema and narrative storytelling. And that's been my career in the 34 years since then, either as a filmmaker or as a teacher. So it's really an important part of my life, and that's why I really encourage you guys.
So how do you think being in night school translated into your career?
Well, so that's a great question. So it did and it didn't. So this is a little bit of advice to you. So it translated into being in my career in one specific way. I now saw this narrative path of production, and the fact that that was the first time I ever shot film. Everything else had been sort of tape-based, like TV tape-based, but film. What it did was we, like you guys, really focused on doing the best quality work we possibly could. We did not want to do student film work. We wanted to do high quality work. And so that by the senior year, the one that won the Student Emmy Award, that was really high quality work. And so then I had something for my reel. Now, a story I've often told is by the time I graduated, though, I was showing that to people, and all it was good student work. It was really good student work. It wasn't professional work. I hadn't done it for someone else. So I encourage you guys to, that's why bring in a sponsor when you can say, hey, I worked for company X who sponsored this. Then it becomes that much more real. But it was what night school did for me was it showed me I had chops, that I could do it, that I could play in a big playing field, and that if I just stuck with it, I could do it. And that's significant. If not, I wouldn't have had any opportunity. I mean, when I graduated in, say, 1985 and 1986, there were only a handful of film projects at Northwestern that got finished. Just because, we used to screen work print and magstock, next to each other. They didn't get an answer print. It didn't get finished. So having these finished videos that you could show people was significant. And there was it was such a different film world back then. There was no YouTube. I couldn't send a file. I had videos, cassettes.
So like, what was the process of filming the music video like? Did you guys shoot on film?
Yeah. So we shot, now I can only talk through the first 4 videos, 84, 5, and 6, and we did 2 in 85. We shot film. We shot 16 millimeter film. We came downtown to a place that does not exist anymore and transferred that film, a place called Editel. We transferred the negative to tape. We did like 1 inch, maybe it was 2 inch, but I think it was 1 inch at the time. It was 1 inch tape. Did a color correction session then. We got cassettes, offline cassettes with time code numbers on them, and then did our own edit on cassette, and then took those numbers where we would actually translate the time code numbers and go back to Editel to do a online finishing session. And because the only way we could do it is if we did it overnight, so we went in at 11 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning, and with an editor for Editel, and did it there. And we found some pieces of software which was, new at the time, that we decided, hey, let's play with this thing. And that's how we did it. So we shot film, did a offline cut ourselves, then went back to Editel and did an online cut, and then had to finish it, and then had to go make dubs. And that was the process, because we did it we did the edit in some small room in Anime Swift, in a little offline room. Yeah. It was a very, very different experience. So you guys are shooting, what, C300, C500? What are you shooting?
We shot with the last one. The first video we shot with A7S. Mm-hmm. And the second video we shot with 3 C100s and 1 Canon 5D.
So you are shooting multi-camera, and then you're doing an edit all in post, or
everything's in. Yeah, we work on Premiere.
Yeah. So but you can put like 4 video tracks on. Put all 4 cameras on one video track.
Basically.
And just pick that's like so fancy. Yeah. And what about with the music? Where are you recording the music? The song that you do, the songs you've done, have been recorded previously, or you're recording it live?
Yeah, we recorded live. So the whole concept is this one-take concept. We filmed the entire concert from start to finish, all live recordings, which then get a little bit touched up, some mixing and mastering.
No overdubs at all, though.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And then get linked back up to the video.
That's really great. I mean, that is a what I like about this is it's your own unique version of what night school was. It's similar to what we were doing. It's not exactly the same thing we were doing, but it's in the family, and I really hope that family grows. It keeps going from there. So what now? What this podcast is called Teaching in the Arts. So you guys are students in the arts, but you've had influences. What are some of your influences, both teacher-wise, but also just art? I mean, I'm sure some artists have been influenced to you, and maybe, Sid, in your case, your father could have been an influence as well. What's influenced you? What has got you to where you are today, where you're on the cusp of being professional artists?
I've had amazing teachers thus so far, and I think it speaks magnitudes that they honestly were teaching courses that were so specific and honestly not hitting exactly what I was interested in, but I was still able to find some parts of the material that I was able to engage with.
Like what? Like what name a course or something?
Like, for example, I'm in a music theory class, and we are learning very, very specific types of chords that probably are only ever heard in the Baroque period and never, ever heard again. But my teacher makes extra efforts. He knows that I'm very interested in classic rock music, and he will make efforts to point out examples of the music theory elements that we're learning about and where they are seen in some classic rock songs.
Who's the teacher?
Professor Reinhardt. I believe he heads the music theory program.
Yeah, right. What's a classic rock song that would be an example?
He was speaking a lot about just the Beach Boys album Pet Sounds and how that album is just one of the most harmonically complex pieces of musical work ever.
Have you listened to Pet Sounds?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean that is a great thing about college. Had you heard Pet Sounds before you went to college?
No.
You may have heard Good Vibrations or one of those songs, Sloop John B or something like that. But man, that's a great thing about going to college is when you get turned on to something you didn't know before.
Right.
And it could be a fellow student, it could be a teacher. That's worth the price of admission to college. Put this thing on. Now, what I bet you didn't do was listen to Pet Sounds on vinyl.
No.
I bet you had CD or MP3 or something like that too. That's really great. So what sort of art or performance influenced you? Performers, but
Well, honestly, the performance program at Northwestern is so strong. So even being around some of the graduate students who have taken extended years to hone down this craft is just extremely motivating to be around. They're students in their late 20s that are honestly, in my opinion, good enough to be at, in the Met and performing in really professional atmospheres. So the fact that we're able to learn alongside students of such high degrees of professionalism is truly fantastic.
It's the classic thing that like an athlete will do. You become a better tennis player by playing people who are better than you. And, you don't play down, to your level, you play up to their level. And that being exposed to those guys is just as valuable as being exposed to Pet Sounds. Mm-hmm. Sid, what about you? Who are some of your influences?
So I've had a fair share of influences in my life. I guess my earliest influences were my father, who got into production, and he did whatever he wanted to do, and that's a very big influence. And his partner, Himanshu. And I just like watching them when they were producing the movie back in 2012. It was a really good experience for me. A class that changed my life was, it's a screenwriting class, like Intro to Screenwriting at Northwestern. Never thought I could be a good writer, but then that's when I started writing, and then like stories come to you, and that was beautiful.
Who's the teacher?
Eric Gernand.
Don't know him. Yeah. What kind of stories do you want to tell? If you were making cinema, not music videos, what kind of stories do you want to tell?
Exactly. So that's what I was coming to. Another one of my influences recently has been Kumail Nanjian, or like, I hesitate when I say this name, but Aziz Ansari to some extent. Because like I feel like over time I've realized that the stories that I want to write are about my experience. Like, so something like a mix of Master of None, but not as like rom-com, but like with a mix of Atlanta in it. So more drama.
Sure, right.
But like, what I really like about Master of None is that like, it's what it is. Like, he doesn't have an accent because he does not have an accent, but his dad has an accent because he has an accent.
Yeah, and it's his real dad.
Exactly.
In that show, and his mom.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like The Big Sick was my favorite movie this past year.
Terrific movie. Yeah.
Beautiful. Because again, what I really liked about it was that like there's so many stories out there that like minority stories that just never get told, right?
So you're leading me into exactly what I wanted to talk about next. So I think a problem, and I am guilty of it on this program, and I'm going to change that, is there are not enough role models for students. So I would venture to say that 95% of all of the teachers I had from Montessori to graduate school were white. And probably 80% and almost all of them after high school were men, And so I have a role model. Those teachers look like me, right? That's so wrong. I mean, I teach students, and they don't all look like me, when I teach. So first off, what you were saying is you need role models out there. You need to see that someone who looks like you, is like you, can do what you want to do. And that's both as a teacher and, of course, as an artist as well. I mean, for me, a groundbreaking film for me, oddly, was Spike Lee's She's Gotta Have It. Because here it is, like 1985, 1986. You did not see African-American people on screen kissing, and being romantic. I mean, you just didn't see that, right? And then a year or two later, you get The Cosby Show, or right around the same time you get The Cosby Show, and you don't even want to talk about him as well. But you have to have, these role models as well. And now we live in this whole Me Too moment, this whole, this horrible time we're in. It is really crazy. And 34 years ago, I did not have to think about that. It was a non-issue, perhaps naively for me, but it was a non-issue. So what do you think? What about role models for you guys as teachers and also performers? And what about this world we live in now, this women in media world, this Me Too world? I'm looking at the woman in the room.
Yeah. I mean, right now I'm enrolled in 4 classes. Only one of those professors is a woman. I don't know if it is because she is a woman, but she is one of my favorite professors I've ever had at Northwestern. I honestly don't know like the basis of it, but I am definitely able to relate to her as a professor and as an individual.
Is she a music teacher or something?
No, this is for a religious studies class.
Oh, wow.
But I would love to have more diversity in my experiences, and if that translate into the educational realm of having a more diverse selection of teachers, I am 100% here for it. I think that it would be extremely helpful and give me a much more well-rounded experience in terms of education.
I had one of my favorite teachers as an undergraduate was a woman named Hollis Clayson, who was an art history teacher. She was there recently. She still may be there. I adored Hollis Clayson. She was an art history teacher. I had her a couple of times. Absolutely loved her. And in my senior year, I had a film class called Business of Film, and it was taught by a grad student, very good grad student, Manj Pandekar. And he was terrific. And when I started developing my own film programs at college, I stole that class he taught lock, stock, and barrel. I had to update it by 30 years, but it was a great class. So those are two people. But that's like, okay, I can't fill up 5 fingers on my one hand here. Now let's talk about sexual harassment and the world we live in. And it's, we talked earlier, you're 17 or 18 years old when you go away to college, and yes, you have to learn how to balance your own budget and do your laundry and all that kind of stuff. But, you also are in this world of adults now, where there is sex in the air, and there's, I've been to the Tri-Delt House, there, and I know what goes on on college campuses, and there's no policing necessary. There's self-policing, but it's a scary time out there. So what is the environment like on college campuses? Both teachers to students, students to other students. You're working late nights on night school and other things like that.
Mm-hmm. Something that's been extremely helpful for myself is being in Tri-Delt, just because this is a space of very conscious and very intellectual women who are very aware of what's going around us and are very willing to have thoughtful and intellectual conversations about what's happening. So, for instance, we had an open discussion with all the girls in Tri-Delt, just talking about what we can be doing to perpetuate a safer environment for women, especially on our campus. Northwestern had some drama even last year involving some sexual assault issues in our own Greek system. So that kind of made this whole Me Too moment very real for college students. So
what were some of the conclusions you guys came to?
Well, in terms of logistical aspects, Tri-Delt specifically has been working really hard to reform some of our risk management procedures. So when we go out, having girls that are there who are sober, who are conscious, who are looking after all the girls, which is just not only so important, but also so comforting to go out and know that you have people that are looking out for you and who care so much about you and your safety.
Same in the fraternities.
Mm-hmm. So I guess whatever happened last year in the university, the consequence of that was that it opened everyone up for dialogue, and that was very important. So there were so many things that people talked about, and again, it's the frat culture is you get termed with hypermasculinity, and sometimes it goes with it, but in Phi Delta, I think that I found people who are open to talking about it, and again, we men who want to make sure that nothing like that happens. So,
it's it's going to change. It's going to change again, and another shoe's going to drop. It's going to be Woody Allen. It's going to be somebody. I don't mean to damn Woody Allen unnecessarily, but something's going to happen again, and again, look at the political climate we're in. We have a president who now has 2 women saying that they were paid off by him for having an extramarital affair. We know what he said before he got elected on television. And it's this environment, and we have to talk about it. I'm glad we're talking about it. I know when I was there wasn't a forum to really talk about it. There was no internet. There was no, we didn't have email. We couldn't communicate. You got a memo. You put something on a bulletin board is what you could see. You just didn't have it. Before we wrap up here, any questions for me? Anything I can do for you guys? We'll promote this. We'll have links of this on the website. You can push it out there. But any questions about Northwestern, the future, any of that stuff? You're looking at your phone for a question. How modern of you.
We brainstormed in the car right over here.
I definitely wanted to talk about the culture of night school back in the day.
Sure.
What was the culture like in night school?
You guys are very, very mature. And we were mature in a way that we had this idea and we got the job done. And I know my junior and senior year when we got the Miller Beer money, and we're very responsible to them as a client. So that culture, we were very responsible. We really wanted to we didn't take it for granted. We wanted to put the best work forward we possibly could, and we took it very, very seriously. Quite possibly at a detriment to me going to some classes. The attendance policy was much, more lenient than my current attendance policy for the classes I teach. So there was that. The other part of it was, I was the guy who had a bunch of free beer sitting on his back porch at age 20 and 19, and who's the same guy who ends this podcast with saying, now it's time for me to get a drink. So there was a bit of, Wild West going on in the 80s. I will be honest about that. I mean, I was a red-blooded 20-year-old guy, but I was very responsible. I had to get good grades, and I had to deliver the goods on night school and all the other art projects I worked with. So that was part of the culture. It was a kind of both sides of things. I mean, we had fun. We had a lot of fun, but we took the work really, really seriously. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Great. I mean, I am really, really impressed with you guys, and I am so glad I am connected to night school through you. I've got to say this because I don't know any other place to say it. This all came about because back in the fall, I get an email out of the blue from Erica, who I do not know, and it says the subject heading is Night School Lives or something like that. And so I clicked on it, and she found me, and we started this talk, and we met in early January. And it's been great. And I'm really happy for you guys. And I just wish you all the success in the world, both as students and beyond.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Definitely.
Great. Thanks. So that's it. That's the show. Thank you, Erica and Sid. And what a great talk. And am I envious or jealous? I don't know what. I wish I could be them and do it all over again. When I knew what I was doing, as they say, youth was wasted on the young, and that certainly was my case. But really great talk, and I wish them all the best. And go to teachingthearts.com. You'll see all the links. Go to subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all of those things. Talk to me at TITA Podcast, and we'll give you all the info for the Night School Project and Catalyst at Northwestern so you can contribute to their great production. And I am out of here. The young folks have left the building almost, and it's time for me to get a drink.